Well, hello, friends. Real quick before we kick off the episode, I have to let you know about something exciting. I am seriously considering having an upgraded version of this podcast where you get bonus episodes and exclusive content. But here's the deal, I'm trying to decide what that content and those episodes should be. I do have some ideas, and I was wondering if you could vote really quick and tell me what you think about what would entice you, what would be interesting to you to get as bonus episodes on this podcast. For example, deeper dives into topics. Maybe I'm answering questions that many of you ask about starting or growing a business. Maybe even overhearing coaching calls, something like this. It would be a paid, upgraded version of this podcast, not very expensive at all, probably just a handful of dollars a month, but it be extra content for you to help you along your journey. My whole goal is to help you build your business dream. And I would love to offer you even more because some of you are asking for it. So if you could just look down in the show notes right now, there's two ways you can give me your answers. Number one, I have a Google form with 5 quick questions. It can be anonymous. You just answer them and vote on what would be interesting to you. Or number two, I have a voice memo system. You can just click it and you could just leave a voice memo with your phone right now and just record it and tell me what kind of topics, what things would be interesting to you behind the scenes, market news. What would be things that would be extra that would be really valuable to you? So thank you all so much. Okay, on to the episode.
Well, hello, this is Kimberly Brock, and for over 20 years, I've been running my own businesses that have not only been profitable, but personally fulfilling to me. So now I'm on a mission to help other new business owners just like you make money doing what you love too. Now we're going to have some fun, so let's get started.
Well, hello, this is Kimberly. It's episode 202, and I am so glad that you're here today because you are going to hear an amazing guest. Her name is Brittany Bisset, and she is awesome. She's a new business owner who started a business around her passion for cheese. Oh, yes, cheese. She's even got a podcast about cheese. You're going to hear all about it. I'm so excited so that you can learn from her and see what's possible for you. That if you're in that stage of I have a passion, but could it really be turned into a business? Or what could really happen? Is it really going to work? You're going to be amazed because she's made so much progress in just the last few months of opening this business based on her passion for cheese that you will be inspired and you will see that this is possible for you too. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad that you have found this podcast. I have no doubt it's going to help you along your business journey, whether you're starting your business, growing your business, trying to market it, whatever you're doing, you're in the right place. I'm so happy to have you. If you're new, make sure you get plugged in because you do not want to go about this process alone. I have a Facebook group that's free called Women Starting Businesses Doing What We Love. All you have to do is scroll down right now. Click the link. It'll take you to Facebook. It'll ask you 3 quick questions. You can jump in and now you have a place to ask all those what you think are silly questions and get help as you start and grow your fabulous new business. And I have some free downloads for you if you're new. If you're in the idea stage, I've got a guide for you. If you are starting, I've got a 16-step checklist. And soon I will have a marketing training video for new business owners. Oh yeah, specifically just for you. So the time of recording this, it's not up yet, but it will be very soon. So whenever you're listening to this, scroll down, you may be able to see that link for the training video because come on, if you want to grow your business, you got to get good at marketing, right? And if you are one of my loyal listeners, I want to thank you so much. Y'all are so grateful, so wonderful. You're making so much progress. I'm so happy for you. Shout out to all my grow getters who are getting good at marketing their business. I'm so proud of each of you. And shout out to my binge-worthy boot camp new podcasters. I'm so proud of you for putting yourself out there and getting your voice out into the world. It's going to be awesome. So excited. Okay, on to the episode. Well, hello, everyone. I'm so excited you're here. You have no idea how honored I am to have Brittany on the show. She is amazing. She's a new business owner and she's going to be so relatable to y'all because I think a lot of you think that number one, your passion can't actually be turned into a business. And you may have a niche passion, meaning something that's super specific. Brittany's is about cheese. She loves cheese. That's it. It's as simple as that. That's how she started her business. It started out as a passion. She didn't know if she could turn it into a business. She decided first to start a podcast. Her podcast is called Curd is the Word. Is that not the cutest name ever? Anyways, Curd is the Word is her podcast. She started that, then she started her business. And the way I met Brittany was because she joined my binge-worthy podcasting boot camp. Okay. And she joined and said, I want to start a podcast about cheese. And we were all dying and goo-gooing and awing and oohing over her because we were like, this is amazing. Everyone's going to love this podcast. So she started that. Then she became a member of my Grow Getters program. And she is just a joy. She is driven. She is tenacious. She is a person that you just can't help love being around because number one, she's hilarious, but also she has such a passion for cheese that it's contagious and it makes you happy. So you're going to hear her story. We just started right off with the history of her passion. And then we go into how she started her podcast and how she started her business. And y'all, she's only been in business a couple months. You're going to be amazed at what she's already accomplished. Okay, what she's already made happen. She didn't just sit back. She also didn't just try to pour money into everything and make it all perfect. She shares with you her approach. It's a simple approach. It's an imperfect approach, but it works. And that's what I teach in my programs. If you don't know that, well, now you do. That's what I teach in my Just Getting Started bootcamp, in Grow Getters, and in my Binge-Worthy Podcasting bootcamp, because I want you to see that you can relieve the pressure off of yourself and start something imperfectly and simply in a way that is actually fun to you. And I'm telling you, it works. Brittany is a perfect example. I'm so excited for you to hear her, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay, here we go. Well, hello, Brittany. I am so excited to share you with the world today because you are such a shining example of what it looks like to actually pursue your business dream and make it happen in a simple way. I'm so excited you're here. Welcome, Brittany, to the show.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We are just so happy. We're happy to learn a little something about cheese. I know so many of us love cheese, but we do not know hardly anything about it. And I just can't wait for you to share too how you've built your business so far. In fact, how long have you even been in business?
Officially, legally, 6 days.
6 days, but you've kind of been running it
for
since when?
Yeah, about 2-3 months ago. I
2 or 3 months ago.
Started, yeah.
Are y'all hearing this? And she's already here on the podcast because she's already making massive progress in her business. And it's so exciting. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing. I know there's kind of a backstory because you've been involved in cheese for a while. And so kind of just take us to when you had this dream or what brought you to this to be able to start a cheese business.
Yeah, absolutely. Back in early COVID, I was engaged, planning this big wedding, and those 2 weeks turned into 2 months, which turned into 2 more months. And we ended up canceling everything.
Oh, gosh.
And we bought a house, which actually probably wiser, all things considered. We had our engagement ring or our wedding bands engraved a week before everything shut down, or like a few days before everything shut down. And I'm one of those people that was like, the ring says August 29th, 2020, we're getting married. I don't care on August 29th, 2020.
Like, that's my wedding day, even though COVID is here.
Right. I cared, obviously.
Yes.
So we moved into our house at the end of July. I wrote a to-do list for the month, and we had a 30-person wedding in our backyard. And the reason this all ties into cheese, it was great. We had our bridal party, parents, siblings. That's all we needed. Partied until who knows when. And it was great. There's just people everywhere, inside, outside. And one of my best friends, as her gift to me, which I was in a completely different mindset at the time. I was living in Hoboken, New Jersey. I was working in New York City. You get to work at 8:30, stay until 7, go to happy hour, go to dinner, go to Soul Cycle at 6 a.m. There was no time for hobbies. There was no time to follow passions. We didn't know what that was. And one of my best friends, as a gift, took I have this like really big cabinet that we've turned into a bar.
Yes.
And telling you what my priorities are in life.
Yeah.
And she covered the whole thing in aluminum foil and made this gigantic charcuterie cheese spread. And this is before grazing tables were cool. This was before all of that. I mean, there were cheese breadsticks. There were little hot dog weenies. There were, so many different cheeses, grapes of different shapes, sizes, and colors. And I'll tell you, myself included, like nobody cared that we got married. everyone just cared about this cabinet. Even my wedding photographer was there, and she was like, all right, like, got all the portraits. What else? I was like, get the cheese. Like, that needs to be photographed.
Get the cheese in the photos. So just to like get this straight in my head, you were planning on getting married and you had gotten engaged when? Like 2019?
Even farther back. My husband's been on this like financial trajectory of taking exams and stuff. And we probably got engaged around Christmas of 2018. So I had been waiting and planning this for quite some time.
To get married in August of 2020, then COVID hits and you had gotten your rings engaged with the wedding date the week before COVID. So now you're kind of makeshift, like, I'm still getting married. Let's do it at our house. And your friend comes along and says, I'm going to decorate this bar, puts foil on it, all the cheese stuff on it. And nobody cared about the wedding, only about the cheese.
Literally.
And so what was that moment? Was that a moment of realization about something, or what happened? How'd you feel at that moment?
So I found that I had so much free time. My career has always been in executive administration. So a lot of my day is like following bosses around to be like, you're late. So I found by working from home, I didn't have to do that. So I had a lot of free time. I was trying on like all these different shoes that just didn't fit. I taught myself how to play the ukulele. I got really into plants. I just was looking for a hobby, a passion of some sort.
Yeah.
And to see this cheese, just like everyone was in love with it. The next day, like, obviously 8 people slept over. The next day we like took all the leftovers and made multiple cheese boards and we just ate them all day. Like, that to me, I was like, I love cheese. Like, there's got to be something here. I started like looking into different classes just to try to, not to be super educated, but just kind of work my way around a cheese counter. I'm no stranger to cheese shops, but when you go in, sometimes you're like, what is a young Mahone? And why is it different than an old Mahone? Who's Mahone?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Right. And that's like just a type of cheese. Which is, I just kind of wanted to like know my way around things.
Right.
I like to be very good at things. That's
Yeah.
And seeing how much people love cheese, I started, just taking classes from there. I attended a virtual cheese tasting over the course of like 4 weeks with like a Cheese 101. I went to the University of Vermont online and did a cheese sensory evaluation class. I had to write papers on cheese. It was...
What? I didn't even know all this was around. What the heck? It's amazing what you find when you look for it.
It's so true. And I also found in my search, and this is still very true, the people who specialize in the charcuterie boards and the grazing tables and the catering side of things do not mesh well with the people who are working at the cheese shops behind the counter, going to cheese events, because you have...
What do you mean they don't work well? So what does that mean?
Because the people who make the charcuterie boards as a living, they use Costco, they use Trader Joe's, they use the cheaper the better because they're looking to make a profit.
Yes.
And then you have cheese people, the mongers, who are the people who work behind the cheese counter that are there to talk to you, answer your questions, are the ones who are friendly with the cheese makers, the small farms, trying to get their cheeses, quote unquote, put on the map to let everyone know about good cheese. And then I kind of was like, I like to make these fancy charcuterie boards. I also love tasting these like farmstead artisanal cheeses and learning about them. And I am now somehow in the middle of both of these armies.
You crack me up. Okay. So you start realizing this, you start getting educated, you start learning all the terminology and becoming smarter about cheese and recognizing cheese in the name. So then what happens?
And then from there, I realized I was getting my hair done one day and I was just telling my hairdresser, like, I'm really into cheese. I've been taking these classes. I don't know what comes next. And she's like, go work on a farm. I'm like, you're crazy. I would never. I'm a city girl, right? I'm like, I can't do that. And so sure enough, I took her advice to heart and I reached out to a bunch of dairy farms across New Jersey. And what's the worst thing you can do? Someone tells you no. I was so uncomfortable with that. I was so uncomfortable with doing something different. And I knew at the same time, like, I'm an animal person. I have a dog. I love all animals. So sent out a couple feeler emails. I end up volunteering for a summer every Friday at this dairy farm not too far from my house.
This story is cracking me up. Jersey girl to dairy farm volunteer.
Trust me, my husband would wake up and be like, who are you today?
who have you turned into today? Now you're a farm girl. Okay.
So every Friday I would wake up and go to this dairy farm and I would help make cheese. I would wash cheeses. I would help press curds into molds. I was salting bries. I was just in these aging rooms, like washing, you used to like wash mold off some harder cheeses with olive oil.
Hey, this is crazy. It's a whole new world. I don't know if anyone else is like, what? My jaw's like wide open. I'm like, what is going on?
And what's even better is that I was able to manage all like this. Like I was still working full time at my job because we were all remote. And then I happen to have a weird love of like working retail. I worked retail before. My dad had a deli. I used to work the register. Yeah.
Okay.
I love it. I love talking to people. I weirdly love making sales. I don't know. So they had this farmer's market every Friday and it was all day. It was like 11:30 to 5. And I used to go on my every other Friday shift by myself. And they had this big red van they let me drive. And I'd load it up with all these coolers. And they had like beef, pork, chicken, all these different cheeses. And I went with like the girl who trained me. We went to one together. And she was like, okay, this is it. You're on your own. And I would go set up these like folding tables, the tablecloth, the tent, and just literally sling cheese and meats for this dairy farm every other Friday. And I loved it.
So the dairy farm you were working for, you now were representing them at the farmer's market? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so this is all still during COVID and all that, and you're representing them, and you're talking about cheese to other people and selling it because you like retail. You're there. Okay, so now you've kind of graduated from the process of making, and now you're actually selling it to the end user, to the consumer.
So like every other week, like one week I'd be making the cheese, the other week I'd be selling it. I remember at one point they have this one cheese that gets wrapped in like an Applejack whiskey fig leaf. And I was the one to like blanch the fig leaves. And I was also the one to go buy the whiskey because I was over 21. I was like me and all these high school kids. I'm like, I'll go get the booze.
Let me be your Sherpa.
Right.
Here.
I was like, yeah. I was like, you want to give me a ride? You can use my ID. So it was so cool. It's just a cool experience. And then I ended up leaving corporate America. And that was kind of my first... What am I doing with my life? I changed over to a private family office that's 3 minutes from where I live now in the suburbs. And to have that, I don't have a team to run. There's no other employees. It's me and one other person. The stress level from my last job to this job was like a world of change. And I've been able to put all that extra energy into what am I doing with cheese? And I knew I didn't want to work behind a counter. I knew I didn't want to make cheese. I mean, the farm life is cool on your own terms, you know?
Yes. But it's good, though, that you experienced that so you knew that. Like, that's what's genius about what you did about volunteering, just so you could learn. And now you know what? I don't want to get into that part of cheese, but I want to be around cheese somehow. And you're like going, what do I do?
Right. And I found that a lot of my close friends would come to me and be like, I want to have cheese for this event. I'm at Trader Joe's, what do I buy? Or, can you recommend, I like Swiss. Can you recommend a few other cheeses I would like? And this started to become more and more apparent. And one night over probably too much wine, I was like, I'm going to have a podcast. I'm going to tell everyone what cheese is. No one should be afraid of this. And I just talked about it for a year. I made some practice episodes and I had a very hard time admitting to myself that I needed help to do this. But once I did.
I know. Don't we all? We want to do it ourselves.
I want to do everything myself. And took the plunge on signing up for your boot camp binge-worthy podcast class. And that was it.
So that was the beginning. For some reason, I thought when you joined, you like already had a business.
Nope.
But you didn't. And this was just a few months ago. When did we run that? Was that in June? Maybe that was in June. It was so, I don't know. Time's like, there's so much going on. But so you didn't actually have a business. You had just been doing like what you said, advising your friends, and people were coming to you and you could kind of see that, wow, people are seeing me as an authority in this field of cheese. Is that fair to say? Like you're seeing this trend. I think a lot of my listeners, and I think a lot of you that have been thinking about starting a business, the same thing is happening happening to you. And I think it's also a good indicator of what is a good business idea for everyone listening, because you can already see why people are coming to. People used to ask me all the time, well, how do I start a business? How do I get my business online? This was years and years ago. And I think it's a great, easy way to see what kind of business you could start. So you were wanting to start a podcast. You were talking about it, even doing practice recordings. Now, how did you find my program to get in with us in Bingeworthy?
Yeah, I had been listening to your podcast for years at that point.
Oh,
and
wow.
I had been following along, and I just call it stubborn. I was like, I don't need help from anyone. I will just figure this all out myself. And the podcast one, your podcast is great. I don't follow it religiously.
Right.
Whenever I'm like looking for something, I'm like, I'm just gonna listen to this. It's fun, it's light, and I always feel inspired after. And to know that you are the authority on women starting in business, you're the authority figure on podcasts, to have a podcast class, I was like, let me just take a gamble on this. What's the worst that happens?
Right. I love that. And I love that. Yeah, you're just like, you know what? And what did you feel like you were struggling with getting your podcast started? Like you said, you've done practice episodes, but where was the disconnect between going from that to actually having it launched?
I think it was the imposter syndrome. Because who am I, this random girl who works in finance, to start telling people about cheese?
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate.
And it was the community of our class. I mean, I couldn't believe how diverse the other people who were looking to launch a podcast were. I mean, I don't know what to think. And people were like, this is cheese? Oh my God. And that kind of gave me a little boost that I think I needed.
Yeah, because it's so fun and lighthearted, and it's not something you hear all the time. So I think that's super cool. So you get your podcast going, you're in the program, and you were like, I think you're the fastest one to get it going, which I was so proud of you, because you took all the steps and you were actually doing things, doing everything. Thank you very much. You know, when you're a coach or a teacher or anything, when people actually listen, you're like, yes, someone's applying it. I'm so excited because I know it works if someone would do it. So anyways, so you do it. You get your podcast up, and then how does this actually turn into a business?
Right. Actually, I kind of slacked off on your whole call to action. You're going to make money from this. I'm like, I'm not looking to make money. I'm just talking about cheese. I don't need a business. And then I decided people love this stuff. I had seen a couple make your own charcuterie board classes. I spoke to a woman. My town's really big on small businesses. So I spoke to a woman called the Loaf Lady, and she brings you warm loaves of bread to your doorstep.
Oh my gosh. How cute is that?
And I was like, do I have to be a real business? How do you do this? Am I doing something wrong? What's the market? And she was like, just go for it. If people say what's people gonna say no? Who cares? And I was like, all right. So I started going into local stores and just cold emailing people saying I'm launching this podcast. I think I only had my trailer out at the time. And I just kind of want to teach charcuterie board classes. And I didn't have any kind of organizational system. I didn't have any budget. Thankfully, I work full time. So I could put enough money into this myself without needing this as any source of income. And the response was amazing. People were like, absolutely, let's pick dates. And I just remember every email I got from the first place I did it, I was like, they really want me to come in. I can't believe this.
I mean, that's so awesome that you had the gumption to just cold email people saying, okay, tell us, because I think anyone listening is going to be like, wait, what? What did she do? So explain again exactly what you did. You knew you could make charcuterie boards, so you start reaching out to local small businesses.
Yeah, I went to home decor boutiques that I am familiar with.
Okay.
And I guess also, not that I had a brand at the time, but I kind of had an aesthetic in mind. Think dark rustic woods, French farmhouse. So I went to stores that looked like that I knew hosted events. So there's always a lot of stuff going on. Yeah, there's an ear piercing party, or there's make your own candles. We definitely have things going on.
Okay.
And I remember I was in my first place I did it was this really cute luxury home decor clothing store boutique. And I happened to just stumble upon it. And the owner was close in age to me. I was like, do you do events here? She was like, yeah. I was like, would you ever do a wine and cheese or cheese board? I'm going to have this podcast and I'd love to, and she was like, that sounds so cool. Let's just do it. And she didn't even think twice. And also hearing the confidence that someone wants that gave me the kind of the chutzpah to start emailing other stores I knew about and so on and so forth. And then my second and third class sold out before like I woke up.
You're kidding me.
And my second class became a third class because so many people signed up and were so upset they like couldn't get tickets that the owner of the store messaged me on Instagram and was like, can you check your email? Like, I really need another date. And I was like, what?
Oh my, I mean, this is every new business owner's dream that they're like booked out and they have to book another event or that they, run out. And I think that's what's so great is that you have found a niche here that is maybe untapped, right? It's untapped. There is a love for it. Just like you have this total love for cheese that you're willing to volunteer on a farm and do all this stuff to learn more about it, right? And so you're finding people like you that are curious. You're cheese curious. I don't know what to call it, but
That's good.
She's curious and want to know more about it and want to learn. And in fact, y'all may not be able to see this on video because it's probably just clips I'm going to have, but she has the cutest shirt on right now. And you have to show the camera. Oh my gosh. So tell us about this t-shirt you have on. It has a whole bunch of cheeses on it.
Yeah, I actually bought this shirt for my very first class.
Okay.
And it's just a vintage French cheese poster that you can now get on t-shirt, sweatshirts. Thank you, Etsy. I realized that I didn't have anything that kind of went along with this like mental authority I thought I had on cheese.
I love it. I love it. So this is not something you make and sell. You bought it from someone else, but you are considering selling merch.
Absolutely.
Cheese merch.
Yeah. I have cheese socks. I have this t-shirt. I've got, t-shirts with like funny sayings on them, but there's no actually like, I don't know, call it elegant cheese kind of branded clothing.
Right, right.
I would love like a button-down shirt with like little tiny cheeses embroidered all over it to like wear. Or like, there's so many cheese events too. Like, why don't we have this? I saw actually online someone made this beautiful silk scarf with like a charcuterie board. And I was like, okay, now we're getting somewhere.
You're like, these are my people. Yeah. These are my people. And this is who's going to wear my stuff. Oh my goodness. Okay. So you launch your podcast, then you start cold reaching out to stores that host events to see if they'd be open to yours. And so you're hosting events. You're running, or what episode are you on Kurt is the Word?
I am about to launch episode 5, probably early next week.
Oh my gosh. And you're getting sales. You're making revenue.
Yep.
You've just started. And I want everyone to realize this. Like, this is how quick you can start making money with what you think is just a little small business. It's a passion you have. You just don't realize. And I know you have no idea, Brittany, where this is going to take you, but you've been moving forward in your passion anyways, like courageously just keep taking little steps. And that's what I love. So what's up next for you? What's coming up next? Do you have another show, charcuterie making class coming up, or what's on the docket?
Yeah. So I actually, thankfully, one of my best friends is very organized and good in digital design and has helped me with my website and has created all these like matrices for me. So I have like a matrix of content. I have a matrix for my podcast episodes. So I'm like, we need a projects matrix because now the word of the Kurt is starting to spread. And I've been hired by this adult, or I guess kind of adult and children workshop venue to host monthly cheese board classes. And they will be themed. So like, well, September is not a theme. It's my first one there, but October will be a Halloween spooky board.
Oh my gosh.
And we'll do one for Thanksgiving. We'll do Christmas or Hanukkah. Yeah, New Year's. So that should be a lot of fun. I'm also looking, this is actually a cool story. This just happened.
Okay.
I'm looking into commercial kitchens because to legally sell cheese boards the right way, not in my kitchen, is to get, my food permit, my food manager's license.
Wow.
And so I've been looking at commercial kitchens. And I went to one yesterday, and would you believe the owner of that commercial kitchen was someone else at that farmer's market I used to work at? He had his own stand.
Wow. So it's like come full circle. Like you knew it. It's so weird how the world works. Smaller than you think, right?
Right. I was like, I know you. I was like, he's like the Highland Park Farmer's Market. And actually because of that, he's giving me not a discount per se, but he knows I'm just starting out. And usually he requires 20 hours minimum a month to rent. And he's like, I'll do yours for 8 because I know you. I know you're just getting started. it's so great to see you do your own thing instead of like selling other people's products. And I'd love to do farmers markets to sell good cheese. And all my classes too are a cheese tasting to start, and then we go into building the board. So it's kind of like I'm slowly on this mission to combine the charcuterie folks of the world with the good cheesemakers of the world to be like, we're going to make these boards, but use like actual farmstead good cheese and maybe like one little cheap cheese to like, you know, make it approachable.
Yes, I think that's that's a really cool statement when you put it like that. It makes sense to me that instead of just throwing together a grocery store generic cheese, you're like good cheeses to create a nice charcuterie board that's actually, you're really learning something from it too, because it's not only beautiful, but you're learning, these different types of cheeses.
So I like set it up with like each, there's like 3 different cheeses and like 3 little pairings to go with it. And we go through this whole pairing tasting. I give out these little tasting wheels with a coupon on the back.
Oh my gosh, this is so awesome. So it's kind of like a sommelier with wine. Like you've become an expert and you're helping other people kind of become their own, you know, what do you call us when we become more just cheese lovers? I guess cheese lovers and aficionados, like that we like it. I just think that's so wonderful.
Like I get tagged in people's Insta stories where I get texts from people. And if they're not asking me a question, they're like showing me a cheese board that they made because they took my class and they're so excited to like show it to me.
That is the best feeling
it's cool
in the world.
I love the part at the end. I love in my cheese board classes because they always start off looking like a little rough. Like now you've got this like half-eaten cheese, like you're trying to move around. But by the end, people get a little frustrated. They're like, how come this doesn't look good? And then by the end of the class, everyone's standing up. They're like taking all these pictures of their cheese boards. They're sending it to their husband, their friends. They're so excited. They've also, you know, most of my classes are BYOB. These women come in with droves of wine. I mean, they Uber here. Sometimes I had a group of women go out to the bar after. They were like, what bar can we bring our own food to so we can just get drinks and like eat our cheese boards?
Eat our cheese that we just made. We need to relish this. Yeah. Yeah, I think they did. They pre-gamed before the charcuterie board party. Right. And now they're like trying to continue it.
100%.
Phase 3.
I was like, let me know where you end up.
I might come visit you.
Right. I was like, I could bring the supplies.
I mean, that is just so cool. I mean, what an awesome feeling. And it's just so neat, again, to think that you've found this niche because people are not an expert in this. And it is something that is, I don't know, it's this whole new frontier and it's like a fun passion and for people to experience cheese. And now you're creating a business out of it, which you didn't think was maybe possible.
Not at all.
And so everyone listening, look at this. I mean, this is totally possible. So you said someone reached out to you to book the monthly classes that are coming up, the holiday themed and all that. They ended up reaching out. So see what happens. She was putting herself out there at first, and now people are actually reaching out to her. And I think that is just so cool.
And it's been a lot of networking too. Like the reason that happened was because my wedding photographer, I stayed friendly with her. She's moving into pet portrait photography and was looking to rent space. So she had been reaching out to different venues, found this place. And as she met them, she's like, would you guys be interested in like a cheese board charcuterie class? Like I know someone. And I'm starting to find like a lot of my other friends, like my one friend attended a girls' night out at this like bar studio. She was like, would you guys ever want to do a charcuterie class? I've got a friend who does it. And now I'm like, that's how people are now emailing me like, oh, I heard your friend mention.
Yes. But you're easy to refer. And that's a key for everyone starting a business too, that it has to be very clear what you're doing. Now, yours is kind of clear just by its nature, right? But some people's businesses, even like different kinds of coaches and things, if you're not specific on how you actually help people, it's hard for people to refer you to their friends or to recommend you. And so that's what's really cool is like everything is lined up for you. You found a niche, you're easily referable. Other people don't know about it. There's a demand for it, obviously. It's super fun. And you're so enthusiastic and joyful about cheese that it's contagious. It really is. And I think that's what's really cool about what you're doing. You're just making people's lives better.
Yeah.
One little cheese at a time. I mean, you're just, it's amazing. I love it. So what else? What other advice can you share with us or anything you want to tell my listeners who may be like where you were a couple of years ago?
Yeah. I mean, the one thing for me is that it's not all kind of, cheese and excitement. There's always so much stuff going on in the background, and it's okay to be a hot mess. Like, it's totally, I have my neighbors coming over sometimes to like put pecans in bowls for me 10 minutes before I have to be at a class because they've offered to help, or maybe they didn't, and I know they're home because I can see their cars.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, I think my big thing was being so hung up on having it all together all the time, and to cold email a business and say, hey, I literally just started this. Is this something you'd be interested in? I'm willing to be flexible to your terms because you've hosted events and I don't know what I'm doing. And I think that's okay to say.
I love that. It's freeing too, isn't it? Freeing. You're like, hey, I'm new. It's okay. It's my first time. I'm willing to work. It is. It's freeing. And then you're like, okay, we've just cut through the mud, and now there's no games here. There's no games. Let's just be real. I like that.
I spent so long just like trying to be comparing with everybody else around me in New York City, who could be the best body at Soul Cycle, who could have the best bag in New York, who can go to the best restaurant. And now I'm literally like a completely different person, totally stripped down. I'm like the acoustic version of myself at this point. And
I love that.
Right?
I love that analogy.
And it's like, I'm totally okay to be weird, or I'm totally okay to be just my authentic self. And it's so freeing. And to the point of like, I didn't really think I needed a podcast boot camp class. And now people, like close friends of mine, are like, I listened to this other crappy podcast the other day.
I know,
and
right?
The content was good. It's that no one edits, or like, I pay $1 a minute and I outsource it, and it sounds so professional. And like, I never would have thought to do that. So like, once I kind of pulled back the curtain and made the call for help.
Yeah, I know.
Everything's been like, just kind of, so like doors just keep opening because I keep kind of not acting like cool or like I have this all together. And I tend to beat myself up over so much stuff. Like, my podcast should have been done years ago, or I should have started this, I always am like that. And for me, it's like, every time I do a little bit of the cheese stuff, maybe I comment on someone's Instagram, or maybe I organize a Trello board, it's like I'm still working towards something, even if I'm like completely exhausted. Or right now we're going through fertility treatments, and I'm finding out that like things are not great, and we're trying to make the best of it. And every time I go on my own personal Instagram, I'm happy for people. I am. But I'm at the age where people are having 1, 2, 3 babies, or I'm pregnant, or here's a newborn. And I love it. I'm happy, and I don't have to see that.
Right.
I get to just like flip right back to my cheese Instagram. I'm not Googling what condition I've been diagnosed with. I'm not looking up. And it's just really driven me full force into cheese. So I keep kind of people are like, it's a good distraction. I'm like, yeah, but I'm also making $15 a person as a fee for my classes.
Right.
Like, this to me has been a great way to kind of pull myself out of myself, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And just kind of like last night, we went to kimchi, cheese, and beer event hosted by the founder of Mama O's Kimchi, this guy who was on Shark Tank. And it was, they gave us like lunch trays of like 5 different cheeses, 5 different kimchis.
Oh my gosh.
And it was it was delicious. It was so cool. And to know that like I have all these things on my calendar, there's always something going on. There's always something to learn. And every time I go do something, I'm just like furthering myself in my business in like a really fulfilling and fun way.
Yes.
That I don't really, it's like every time I'm like, oh, I feel sorry that like this is going on between my family. I'm like, oh, but hey, guess what? Did you know that spicy kimchi and blue cheese together tastes like buffalo wings? And I'm like completely taken out of like whatever I was thinking.
Yes. It is amazing. And I say that too. I think we all have stuff going on in our life, and we can almost hyper focus on those things that are negative, and like it can steal our joy.
Yes.
It can really steal our joy. And everyone listening, y'all think about the things in life that are stealing your joy. In a business and or a podcast can bring you so much joy when you get to start one based on a passion. Literally bring you joy. I say that all the time, and I told people too, even just starting my podcast changed my life. And people like look at me weird. And I'm like, I seriously am not even kidding. Like it literally has given me a whole new angle of who I am, how I get to express myself. And my business is the same way. And it just sounds like to me, that's exactly what you're saying for you, that it's just opened up all these doors and it helped you develop in a way that you knew it was there, but you never knew how to bring it out, and it's coming out. Like I love this, and you're saying the acoustic version of yourself, like you're scaled back, yet you're miles ahead.
Yeah.
Of where you were. Like, I don't know. It's just so neat. And I can see it in your face too. I know people can't all see on video, but I love this. I love this part of my job and what I get to do, because I just watch people light up when they talk about their business, and it literally warms my soul. It makes me so happy because I know what it's like. But this is just wonderful, wonderful news. Again, for everyone listening, she is a perfect example that when you pursue your passion, you can do it simply. You can be bold about it, but free yourself of everything having to be perfect and, top notch. You get to say, I'm new. I'm starting this. I'm so excited about it. I love cheese, or whatever it is that you're doing. And you'll be amazed at the doors that open for you. So anything else you want to share? Anything before we go?
I will say, I'm still very uncomfortable telling people what I do. I'm still uncomfortable. This is not the normal trajectory of a career. This isn't what I was, was go to college, get a job,
right.
Buy a house, have kids, do that. And now I'm like, I'm doing something different.
Yes.
And it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to it's taken me, I've had my cheese Instagram for about 2 years. And now when people say, what do you do? I'm like, for fun or for work?
Oh, I love that.
Because now I start to tell people I have this podcast. And that is what, no one wants to hear, that I work in a private family office and finance is so boring. But to start the conversation of I have a podcast about cheese. The reactions I get to that are just amazing. And plus, I'm spreading the word of my own business.
Yes. Yes.
I get more listeners to my podcast. I get to, I talk about different cheese events. And now I have people being like, oh, can you mention this event on your podcast? And I'm like, really? You want me to do that? And then I'm like, oh, right. Because I have had my podcast for 6 weeks and I'm about to hit 500 listens total.
Yay,
which
that's so
is so
awesome.
Cool.
That's the best. That is the best. I'm so happy.
It's so cool. Every time I refresh it, it's 10 more, 15 more, even one more. And also again, back to my old mindset. It was I have to do everything perfect. I have to do everything well. I better have thousands of listeners. And now every single follow, every single listen, I'm just this is the coolest thing. I just kind of take it that way.
Yes. Someone is listening to me. Someone is lending me their ear or giving me their time or paying attention. It's so humbling and it's just so rewarding. I just think I know exactly what you're saying. And I do know exactly what you're saying about the OCD of refreshing your stats on your podcast listens. I used to do it all the time. And then I would see that other people were doing it too. And we were laughing we're all ridiculous.
It's
posting. It is fun. But luckily it kind of wanes later. You'll be it's doing well and you'll feel good and you'll be active, but it's still fun to look at it all the time.
Yeah.
It is. It's in the beginning, it's you have to that whole first year. I was refresh.
Right.
How many people are listening? When I started my podcast, I started at very end of 2019. And so COVID hit. I started gaining some momentum and then COVID hit and the listens just died in March, April, May. It just went down and I was oh my gosh, did I just make the wrong decision? Starting this podcast, I was getting momentum, and then wham, that summer, I think everyone started panicking going, what can I do? I need a new job. Should I start a business? And so they started researching starting a business and it went up from there. So you just never know how the timing's going to work out. Sounds like for you, the timing is perfect. It's perfect in your life. Right? And it's perfect for you to start this on the side. And it's a career you never expected, but it's bringing you more joy than you ever expected.
Definitely.
And again, it's so easy to refer you and talk about it. That's what I love. Your business is so simple, cheese. And I hope everyone remembers right now leaving this podcast, make sure your business is simple and easily referable because that is what's helping her. It's a niche and it's helping her grow super fast. Plus she has gumption and she's got tenacity and she's going for things and cold, messaging people and saying it's okay if they don't want to, but I'm just going to keep going for it because I know that what I offer is good. So I think that's so inspiring, and I just love your story. I can't wait to find out more what happened. So if people want to follow you, can you share again all the ways that they can follow you, listen, etc.?
Absolutely. So I have a website, www.thebeescheese. So it's B as in Brittany, S as in Sam, or Swiss cheese, I like to say on my podcast. Yes. And then my Instagram is also at the Bees Cheese. And my podcast name is Kurt is the Word, which I find that tends to stick a lot more with people, which
Kurt
is
the Word
fine.
Is awesome. How did you come up with that name? I remember when you posted that in our podcasting group, and I was like, what the heck? That's an awesome name.
My husband, I don't know where he came up with it. He works in such a mundane field that they're always trying to, like, the titles of their financial reports tend to be like very witty. So he's been doing that for years. And there's a very popular cheese podcast called Cutting the Curd. And I remember I was so nervous about stepping on toes.
Yes.
Nobody cares. And also the cheese community is not a place for comparison. Everyone's just like wanting to cheer each other on.
Yes. It's a supportive community. So Kurt is the Word podcast, and then Bees Cheese. So on the Instagram, it's no apostrophe.
No apostrophe. Bees Cheese.
The Bees Cheese. And I'm going to have all the links below. So for all of you listening, if you're driving on a walk, whatever you're doing, you can scroll down in the show notes right now and see all of her links. And you can follow Brittany's Instagram, see her website, and follow Kurt is the Word podcast and listen, because she's just hilarious. In case you haven't noticed, like, her humor, she just kind of slides it in, and you realize, and then you start giggling after, and you're like, oh wait, I'm just now cluing in. That was hilarious. Anyway, she's got an awesome sense of humor, and she's such a joy, and love that she's bringing cheese to the people, because it's something we need. We all got crud going on in our life, and cheese can make us happy too. So
scientifically proven to do so.
Scientifically proven. That is amazing. I love it. Well, I'm so excited to have you on, Brittany, and share you with everyone. And I'm going to have to check back in with you. I think we're going to have to regroup in some time.
Definitely.
And just hear what more you've learned and how your business evolved, because you're so new. It's only been a couple months, but you're just such a great example of what can happen.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for being on. See you soon, Brittany. Oh my goodness. How fun was that conversation with Brittany? I told you, she's a joy. She's amazing, and she's made this happen. She's proof for you. If you're sitting there right now going, oh my gosh, I do want to turn my passion into a business, make sure you check out my Just Getting Started bootcamp. It will help you get moving faster. But if you're like, well, I already kind of have my business started and I'm open, but I need to grow it and I need to get marketing and I don't know how, I'm uncomfortable, I don't want to do it in an icky way, then check out Grow Getters right now. I only open it every so often at this point. So check out below, because at the time of airing this, it may very well be open or be days away from opening. So check it out. It's to help you get good at marketing so you can confidently show up, promote your products and services, and grow your business already. So I'm so excited to work with you and can't wait to have you in one of the programs. If you have any other questions, you can always contact me in the Facebook group. You can email me from my website. You just know that I want to help you, right? I'm just so excited for you. Okay, that's it. Thank you for being here. Have a great day. Bye now.
Now, this episode may be over, but our relationship does not have to end here. Head on over to KimberlyBrock.com, and yes, you can get more valuable information for your journey. And you know what? You don't need to go through this alone. I would love to help you. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye.